So this story is from the Mahabharata, and the Mahabharata is an ancient Hindu epic about these two families that are at war with each other. There's the Pandava family and there's the Kaurava family. Right? And the great warrior from the Kaurava family, I won't get to him until towards the end of the story, but his name is Karna, just so you have that in your heads. And the great warrior from the Pandava family is named Arjuna. Now, on the day before the first day of battle is supposed to begin, Arjuna is taken out to the center of the battlefield by his charioteer, who is none other than Sri Krishna, the avatar of the Supreme Being, the one and the many, the never-birthed Alpha and Omega. And Sri Krishna takes him out to the center of the battlefield. And Arjuna looks all the way to the west, and he sees his family stretching as far as the eye can see. And then he looks to the east, and he sees the Kaurava family stretching beyond the horizon. And as he looks into the ranks of his enemy, he sees faces of friends and people that he knows and loved ones. And he turns to Sri Krishna, and he says, I cannot go to war with the Kauravas, as I cannot kill those who I love. There, in the middle of the battlefield, before any blood has been shed, begins the Bhagavad Gita. The Gita ends when Arjuna accepts his fate and the battle begins. Now, it's traditional in Hindu storytelling that the storyteller, and these are shameful leaves, but they mark the story by laying out images of the story, usually painted on the backs of various large leaves. In this way, the audience can sort of see what's going on, hold the storyteller accountable, but then also the storyteller gets the chance to sort of remind himself of, oh yeah, that comes next, right? So this is a story from the Bhagavad Gita. J. Robert Oppenheimer was born to a wealthy Jewish family in New York, Brooklyn to be exact. And from a very early age, he showed the greatness for which he was destined. When he was 12 years old, he had developed a keen interest in geology. He loved the crystal structures of rocks. And so he wrote to the New York Mineralogist Society to express this interest. Now, not realizing his age, the society invited Oppenheimer to give their keynote address at their annual meeting. So he shows up, this 12-year-old Oppenheimer, and they have to find a soapbox for him to stand on so that he could reach the microphone. He would later go to Harvard to study, and then he took up a teaching post at Cal Berkeley before he was asked, shortly after the outbreak of World War II, to begin the Manhattan Project, the effort to create a nuclear weapon before the Germans. Now, as Arjuna stood in the middle of the battlefield, and as he pleaded with Sri Krishna, the plea wasn't because he wanted to not follow his fate. He knew what his fate was. His plea instead was to better understand the Dharma. If thousands of people were going to die, and those people would most likely die at the hands of Arjuna, he had to know why. He had to understand the Supreme Being. You see, it was a commonly held belief at the time that a nuclear blast would deter all future war. I think the argument basically goes something like this. Had the European countries held a nuclear arsenal, the Germans would have never attacked. The threat of nuclear war would have stayed German aggression, which is why Oppenheimer believed firmly that the bomb had to be tested on civilians. The images produced by such a blast would be the images that prevented all future war. However, as the war waged on and the Germans were already defeated, and most of the great Kaurava warriors lay either dead or injured, and those that were alive were upset over the loss of their friends and their family. The great Kaurava warrior, Karna, went to sleep the night before of what was to become the last day of battle. And as he slept, Sri Krishna came to him in a dream. And in that dream, Sri Krishna played for him all that would come in the next day of battle. Now, despite seeing this and knowing what would happen, Karna promised Sri Krishna that he would fulfill his dharma to the best of his ability. It is said that when the Trinity tests were performed and the first nuclear bomb exploded, that Oppenheimer stood in conversation with Sri Krishna, knowing what he would do and knowing the effects of his action. Oppenheimer wanted to understand the Supreme Being, and he begged Sri Krishna to leave his avatar form and to reveal himself to Oppenheimer as the Supreme Being. Well, Sri Krishna obliged, and Oppenheimer was overtaken by the beauty in front of him. Imagine 1,000 suns rising into the sky at once. Such is the beauty of the infinite God. And Oppenheimer saw everything that ever was and everything that ever would be. And as he saw all that was good in the world and all that was good that would come, so too did he see all that was evil and all that his actions would cause. And he turned away and he begged Sri Krishna to return to his avatar form, but the god bid him to look once more. And as Oppenheimer turned, he understood the words of the Bhagavad Gita as Sri Krishna spoke. I am all of time, destroyer of worlds. I am the one and the many. I am Krishna among the Vrishnis. I am Arjuna among the Pandavas. I am Truman among the Americans, and I am Hirohito among the Japanese. See all of this, but know that only I exist, and one atom of myself is enough to sustain and destroy the universe. Now, before Sri Krishna returned to his avatar form, he held Arjuna in his arms, and he said, "Go and fight. The foe is yours to conquer." Japan was already preparing the conditions for surrender when we dropped the first bomb on Hiroshima. And despite the fact that Karna, the great Kaurava warrior, lay there prone, without weapon and without shield, Arjuna knocked one final arrow and decapitated the great Hindu warrior. It was this last blow that led to the unconditional surrender by Japan. Thank you. That is the end of our show for tonight. We welcome you to come back on other nights. Tomorrow night, a dear friend of some of ours passed away earlier this week, Miles Richardson, who was a professor at Louisiana State University in anthropology. And Miles saw the world in a way, I mean, like, you know, it's corny to say that, right? He saw the world in a way in which no one else ever saw it, but he really did. Like, he's one of those, like, truly remarkable people who was able to see things in the most mundane activity that was, like, beyond amazing. And so tomorrow, the theme for the night is Fringe, befitting the festival that we are at. But we're also going to use the night tomorrow to honor Miles Richardson and tell some Miles stories. I'll tell you one, the first time I met Miles, I was sitting in a class of his at Louisiana State, and he walks in, and he's very, very old, and he's walking on a cane, and he kind of stumbles at one point, and everyone in the class is kind of like, oh God, is he gonna be okay? And we don't know him yet, and he like says, as he regains his balance, he says, I know you all think I'm old. I know you think I'm really old, but I'm not really old. I'm just drunk. I am always drunk. So, you're welcome to come tomorrow. Thank you so much for tonight, and have a great evening.
Home bomb. Home bomb. We bombed them. 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 Home bomb. We bomb you. Home bomb. We bomb you. Home bomb.